Of the many insurance products available to consumers, there's no question that long-term care insurance can be one of the most confusing. This brief presentation is designed to address some of the key issues and give you enough information to decide if this is something important to you. This is Jesse Sloan, Executive Director of the American Association for Long-Term Care Insurance. We're the industry's trade organization, and what I want to cover are two things. First, why do you really need to think about this? And secondly, what do you need to know to get started? The facts that few consumers really understand. This is the simplest way to describe why this is an important issue to you. Because if you're watching this, chances are today you're going to live a long life. It's not uncommon for Americans today to live into their 70s, 80s, 90s, and thousands of us are going to reach into our hundreds. Well, when you live a long life, the chances of needing long-term care at some point, especially at older ages, is unbelievably high. That's why you need to think about and prepare for that eventuality. So if you expect to live a long life into your 80s, your 90s, or beyond, what's your plan if that happens? Well, and little things like, do you want to eventually spend your final years in a nursing home, or would you rather remain in your own home? A little-known fact about long-term care insurance is that most people today use it to stay in their own home. It's a big misconception that this pays for nursing home care. It does, but mostly I call it nursing home avoidance insurance. Because the real question that you want to ask yourself is, who's going to be impacted and what will that impact do to their lives if indeed you or a spouse need long-term care? The truth is that healthcare reform passed by President Obama has no extra benefits, no coverage for long-term care. It's not dealt with, and neither political party has any plans on the horizon for dealing with it. Medicare, which kicks in when most of us turn 65, will pay for short-term care, but it does not pay much of all for long-term care. So ultimately, the question is, who will be impacted? Well, it's going to be your spouse, if you have one. It's going to be your adult children, your loved ones, or others. What will that do to their lives? Is that really what your intent is during your final years of life? Probably not. And if that's not the case, if you don't want them to be impacted, that's why you need to start thinking and put a plan in place. Because if you eventually need long-term care at some point in your life, well, it's true, you may need it for a relatively short period of time, number of days, a number of months, less than a year, or you could need it for 1 year, 2 years, many years. People with Alzheimer's disease sometimes, remain living for almost a decade. So what are your options should you need long-term care? Where there really are only four. If you have savings and retirement savings, you're going to break into your piggy bank and you are going to spend the money. And for many married couples, of course, typically the husband's older. The wife is basically going to spend all of the retirement savings on his care until he ultimately passes away, leaving herself destitute. The second option is, you're going to turn to your adult children and either have them provide the care, have them pay for the care, have them integrally involved. You could go broke. You could spend all of your money, and ultimately when you go broke, you're going to qualify for Medicaid, Medi-Cal in California, and then you're going to accept whatever government benefit programs are available at the time. The fourth option is long-term care insurance. But here is the key fact that few people are aware of. Not everyone can get long-term care insurance. Your health determines not just what you pay for long-term care insurance, but more importantly, it determines whether you can qualify for this protection. Not everybody can. People have medical conditions or they take prescription medications that ultimately the insurance companies look at and say, this person's a very high risk. And the premise of insurance is in order to keep the prices as low as possible for the healthy individuals that they want to attract, they literally either charge more for those that are in poorer health or they don't make the insurance coverage available to them. your health determines whether you can qualify. Chances are after you pass 50, your health is never going to be better tomorrow than it is today, and it can change at any point in time. And that's the reason if you want long-term care insurance as an option, you have to start earlier rather than later. A second key fact about long-term care insurance is that the prices, what you pay for virtually identical coverage, can vary significantly. Every year the association does a price index. We literally design several different formats of policy coverages, and then we compare the rates for all the leading insurers. And you would be surprised at how much of a range there is between the low-priced leading company and the high-priced leading company. And so really, at the end of the day, because with this coverage, you can't buy it yourself. You can't go online and just start shopping around. You have to work with an insurance professional. It really is important, as I'll explain at the end, to know who you're working with, because those prices can vary significantly. I love this T-shirt that's shown in the image because the large print giveth, but the small print taketh away. And that is certainly true when it comes to long-term care insurance. The small print in your policy, those policy definitions are so important because at some point, if you go on claim, and many, many people with these policies do every year, roughly 200,000 plus Americans are paid benefits from their policies. If you go on claim, it's going to be the policy definitions that define whether you qualify for a claim, whether you don't, and how much of that claim is paid. That's, again, a fact that most people don't think about when they're buying these policies. They only look at the price, and they look at the pretty brochure. It really is important in many cases to work with a knowledgeable specialist, someone who reads these policies and understands the policy definitions that are going to matter to you. Okay. So you look and you say, you know what, I need to do some long-term care planning. The inevitable question is, when do I do it? Well, I throw this slide in because I think it's very, comical, and it kind of helps put you into the right context. What's the best day to buy your homeowners or your car insurance? Well, actually, it's a couple of days just before your house catches fire or before you get into a car accident. The problem is nobody can predict when events like that happen. So the best time to start long-term care planning is really now, especially if you're between the ages of about 52 and 64, because it's your health, as I explained, that matters. It's also, the younger you are, yes, the lower the price, but really, that health with that large exclamation point, you need to start now while you can guarantee that you can still health qualify. This presentation was designed to be brief and to give you a primer. If you're interested in knowing more and reading more, the American Association for Long-Term Care Insurance has several great consumer guides. They've been previously published in Kiplinger's Personal Finance magazine. They are available on our website, aaltci.org/guides. And you can access them free of charge. There's not even any sign-in information needed so that you don't have to identify yourself the way you do on other websites. I strongly urge you to take a few more minutes, go to the website, and read these guides. I think you'll find them extremely helpful. And lastly, if you're ready to obtain prices, what's called a quote for long-term care insurance, may I recommend that you click on this image on the association's website. We will connect you with just one designated long-term care insurance professional who services your area, your state. These are people who represent multiple insurance companies, multiple products. I explained how important and how the prices can vary. Because this is their primary function in life, is helping educate people, they will help you with more information and more answers, free of charge, without any obligation. Look for that little banner ad on the association's website in our Consumer Information Center and get yourself a price quote today. Thank you so much for your time, for your interest, and for watching this video.